Hi, my name is Jill Walsh. I'm a speech language specialist for Princeton Public Schools. And today I'm going to talk about improving communication skills for your child in the home. Understanding communication challenges. First of all, communication is more than speech. So often I hear parents say, "My child can't communicate yet," meaning that their child can't talk yet. But before a child can speak, there's several ways they can communicate. This might be through gestures, such as pointing, such as sounds, or even using pictures to communicate. These are all valid ways to communicate with an adult at home. These challenges might stem from a variety of causes, such as autism, intellectual disabilities, or sensory issues. The goal is to shift from frustration to connection, because when a child can't communicate, it's frustrating not just for the parent, but it's also very frustrating for the child. So, really trying to reduce that frustration will elicit more communication. Validating all communication efforts. So, accepting all responses as communication. So, we're not just looking for verbal language, a child gesturing towards something, a child pulling your hand. That's communication. Whereas a child getting something for himself is not communication because they're not telling you what they want. They're doing it by themselves. Confirming nonverbal cues. So when they're pointing, using language, "I see you pointing, you want the toy." If they're pulling your hand, "You need help." Prompting then for more complex language, but very gently. So if you know that they're communicating with you non-verbally and you know they want the cookies, just modeling the word and seeing if they can repeat that for you. If not, we would still validate and accept the gestural communication. Using visual supports. So many of our kiddos with language disorders really are visual learners, and these can only help our child. They can't hurt them. I've never, in my almost 30 years of teaching kiddos with language disorders, seen a child stop talking or talk less and rely on picture or visual supports. I've seen the opposite. I've seen how pictures can help a child communicate, relieve frustration. So one would be a picture exchange communication system. So if a child wants to go outside and may not be able to say the word outside and can't point outside because they're not within pointing distance, they might be able to look at a picture, choose that picture, hand it to you. That's communication. That's telling you what they want. And at this point, as a parent, holding the picture and modeling the word and seeing if the child could repeat it. If not, we still do accept that as a valid form of communication. Also using visual cues for transitions and choices. So if a child has to go to food shopping with you, showing we're going food shopping, but then we're coming home, using two pictures so they know what to expect, even if they don't understand the language. Using visual cues for choices. Instead of giving choices verbally or asking yes/no questions, giving choices can provide the child with more of a say. So if we ask a child, "Do you want pretzels?" the child could say yes or no. However, if we show a child pictures of several different things that are options, the child has more communication opportunity to choose what he or she might want. A communication friendly environment. It's very hard to elicit. Communication is hard. And if we're trying to get our child to communicate and it's noisy and there's things going on and there's other kids playing and there's toys all around that, that's not the optimal environment for communication. So, really choosing a quiet space and fewer distractions can help. Using direct and simple language, and also consistent language. So instead of get your shoes, get your coat, we are going food shopping, maybe one thing at a time. Look at me, get your shoes. Once the child does that, give one more direction, get your coat. Now it's time to go shopping. Allowing extra processing time for responses. Once we ask a question, if we don't get a response from a child, it's a natural inclination to prompt them or tell them what they need to say to respond. And it's hard to wait, but give a few seconds. If the child doesn't respond, maybe try something other than telling them the answer. Maybe point to the answer. If you're saying, "What do you want?" and you know the child wants the cookies, maybe instead of telling them, "Say cookies," point to the cookies. Give a lesser prompt and see if that works. So just giving a little bit more time for our children to answer. Daily routine strategies are so helpful with learning vocabulary. So at bath time, teaching vocabulary, let's get the soap, let's get the washcloth, let's wash, let's turn on the water, let's turn off the water. This is how our children learn vocabulary, through daily routines. Using routines to build social and communication skills. Do you want the water on or do you want the water off? And also following the child's lead in play. Instead of choosing, let's go play basketball, let the child go without any verbal language, see what they gravitate towards and take that and use what they want. Because having a child's interest and using what they want will aid in the communication aspect of it. Sensory considerations, recognizing that sensory overload shuts down communication. A lot of our kids with language disorders also have sensory disorders, so it might be too light, it might be too noisy. Using calming tools, such as figuring out, if they're sensitive to light, turning down the lights. If the TV is in the background, you might not be able to ask a question and get a great answer. If you're playing music in the car and you're attempting to talk to your child, that might affect them. Partnering with schools and professionals, maintaining a consistent communication methods with professionals at the school, with teachers, with speech therapists, with child study members. As a school professional, I could tell you that although I don't email every day or even sometimes every few days, when I get something from a parent, it is so helpful for me. And it helps me know how the child is doing at home and what I might be able to do differently at school. Sharing successful strategies used at home. So this really worked for my child. And also sharing things that might not have worked, such as, you told me to use 3 picture choices and that's not working. The speech therapist might be able to modify that and say, you know what, why don't you try this instead? So communication with schools and professionals is crucial for the sake of the child and enhancing communication. Some effective strategies that we spoke about: following their lead, letting them choose rather than choosing what you guys are going to do together. Using simple, clear language. Time to eat, much more clear than "would you like to have lunch now?" which then makes the child have to process the language and come up with a verbal response. Visual supports, my favorite. Very much a proponent of these visual schedules. It might be the whole day. It might be you're going to wake up, you're going to get dressed, you're going to eat breakfast, you're going to get on the bus, you're going to go to school. Or it might be something simple like a first then schedule. First, we are going to eat breakfast and then you can watch TV. Turn conversations into play. Songs are great. Kiddos with language disorders, they learn from songs. They love music. It connects the two sides of the brain together, the left being language, the right being music. So putting language with music is a great strategy. Pausing to give time, we talked about, waiting 5 to 10 seconds, which is hard for all of us, but something important to remember. Also, modeling communication. So, talking about what you're doing as you're doing it helps the child associate actions with language and routine with language. Celebrating all attempts, a point, it's so great. That means a child is telling you what they want rather than getting it for themselves. A sound, maybe it's buff or bubbles, accept the sound but model a longer word. So while you'll take the you'll model the bubbles. Reading together daily, especially books with repetitive texts, repetition and consistency really helps language acquisition. And using interests to spark interaction. If I am trying to teach a child to have a conversation instead of talking about what they did over the weekend, to begin, we'll talk about something that really interests them. What they love, dinosaurs, trucks, animals, skiing, whatever it might be more interesting than saying to your child, what did you do today at school? What's your favorite dinosaur? What's your favorite animal? And again, number one, staying patient, keep it positive. Thank you for your time.